In this week's episode, I'm talking to Akberali Engineer from CS Associates in India about how he got into sourcing, what cricket has to do with presenting at a conference, and how to source for people in India. Welcome to episode 23 of the Sourcing Challenge Show. I'm your host, Mark Lundgren. I started off by asking Akberali how he got into sourcing.
Okay, so I got it. So like every other sourcer, most of the sources, I stumbled upon sourcing, where I started off working as a sales professional, sales manager in India, we call them, and I used to sell, an e-commerce platform to businesses in Pune, and that was my first interaction with Google, and social media sites, because I had to sell the businesses. It was like basically an Amazon back in 2009-10. So back then e-commerce was just kicked in India. So a lot of people were skeptical of Facebook and Twitter ads and all these things happening. Internet was just really booming so much. So my job was basically to sell the businesses, our e-commerce platform. And I started working. That's how I learned the sales technique and social media ads, Google ads, SEOs, and so on and so forth, and that's how I got into the social media side. And then I got a call from one of my colleagues, one of my ex-colleagues. She said, like, there's an opening for a recruiter in, iPlace. So I'm like, okay, what's a recruiter? This sounds like a cool thing. I got to hire people. She's like, yeah, you got to come here. You got to talk to people. You'll probably give them jobs. And I'm like, okay, well, this sounds interesting. So yeah, I went up to her, cleared a few interviews, told the interviewer that, look, I'm the right guy because I'm a sales guy. And as per me, recruitment back then, I'm like, how different could it be from sales, because I have to sell the job. I got to know my company. I got to know what requirement I'm hiring for, and I should be able to sell the job. So yeah, I just, cracked my interview and I started working with, the staffing companies in North America, where they would basically outsource their requirements to India at iPlace, which is it's an RPO, so we should get all our requirements. And then I worked with IT. That's when I got my first touch of IT and sourcing, that is when I got my first exposure on sourcing, that, something called as Boolean. So since the requirements were, VMS model, it was a very fast-paced environment. Like, the requirement opens up, and I gotta hit in, a few resumes immediately within a day or two. I gotta go and put in some resumes. So yeah, I learned, the job boards. That was the first thing they taught us, was like, you got to know job boards because we got to get active candidates. So yeah, I worked with clients like Amazon, Microsoft, Kaiser Permanente, AT&T, Verizon. These were my basic VMS clients the staffing company had. And I just went across, learned a few IT requirements, project managers, business analysts, and I was really confused, with the whole thing. Like, what is happening? How do you learn all these things? And there were people, experienced recruiters out there who really knew technology well. So yeah, I got a first-hand understanding of technology and how to search. So Boolean was something which I just, got quite easily, because the and, ors, and nots. And I'm like, yeah, this is easy. You club two things if you want. You can jumble around with keywords and all of that. So yeah, that was my first-hand sourcing experience, with North America. And then I started off with, and then I got a full-time talent sourcer role at Capgemini. And now from North America recruitments, I've moved to India sourcing, where in India, basically a sourcer would, find the candidate, do the pre-screening, and then we would hand over the candidate to the recruiter. Okay, so for me in India, it was actually at the right time. I joined Capgemini when basically the sourcing community in India was developing. So there was in 2014, I remember I joined, and these guys had developed the sourcing contest. It's by Sourcing Adda, and in 2015 they had a sourcing conference that was called PASCon. And as soon as I joined Capgemini, everyone is playing these contests of sourcing, and I'm like, what is wrong with people? What is this? So I'm like, yeah, let me go ahead and try this out. I know Facebook, I know social media, I know everything how it works, with my sales experience. So I just put that through, and the first contest that I played, I came second.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and plus it was just not me actually, winning it. It was, I had these amazing mentors along with me, like Pritesh, Puneet, all these guys at Capgemini. They were these really, good sourcers. And I just like, took everything from them. I'm like, oh, how do you search on Facebook? They're like, so, the question is like, find this developer who's currently working on, so technologies and has an interest in this thing. And, you got to find him on Facebook, find his Facebook profile, find his Facebook user ID.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that's a good question. And then I would just go around, like, I would call Ritesh. I'd be like, hey, how do you find on Facebook? He's like, just try. Go on Facebook and search. Go here and search. And then I would just spend days and nights like figuring out, solving 10 questions, and that's how it got me intrigued. So that's where I developed this whole passion, this whole interest in sourcing. And then I just like, yeah, then I took off from there, and then I started becoming that guy, who would basically teach people around, show the new techniques. Because while solving these contests, I also realized there is another world out there for sourcers. I came across Glenn Cathy's blog, I came across, Jim Stroud's blog, Johnny Campbell, Dean DaCosta, and just everyone. SourceCon as a blog, Recruiting Daily, and I could take names, all night. But that's how I realized that there's this entire new world out there of sourcers. There's this entire community that is actually like, showing all these tricks and techniques. And in my company, I found very few people actually interested in something like that. So I would just
Mhm.
like go out and, call someone who's interested. I'd be like, hey, look, do you know that you can actually search on Facebook? And that time, I think Balashis had posted the first Facebook intersecting
Mm.
blog. How you can use the
Yeah.
URL, change the intersect, and all of that, and actually, find people on Facebook with the company's user ID, or probably, the title user IDs, the location user IDs. And I was just like, my God. And then Shane McCusker's so intelligent search came up, and I was just like showing people. I'm like, look at this, look at this, look at this. This is so awesome, And I used to start connecting with people because, and then my role in Capgemini changed. I was that guy in Capgemini who would go about, working on difficult
Mhm.
requirements which probably, a lot of people would not work on. It was just really difficult for us to convince. So I had that sales background where I was actually, I can't take no for an answer. If a candidate tells me I'm not interested, I'm like, no. You can be not interested. I'm selling you a job, I'm not selling you a credit card. Yeah, this is the job, this is an opportunity. I'm not selling you a credit card out here, that you gotta buy it. I'm just showing you an opportunity. Let me give you an explanation on what this opportunity holds for you, and you tell me about. So I had that sales exposure, so I used to really have long conversations. There was a point when in Capgemini I used to actually talk to candidates that are not interested. So
Mhm.
a co that two of us would probably be sourcing on the same requirement, and I would just tell the other sourcer, whichever candidate tells you he's not interested, give me that candidate. And I would just convert them. I'd be like, okay, you're not interested, why? "Hey, I want to go to on-site." I'm like, no, that's just not, that's not like a reason to not be interested in an opportunity because you want to go on-site. And I would just like debate with that person. I'm like, why you want to go on-site? What do you want to go to on-site and do you know what on-site professionals do in service industry? And they're like, no. So I'm like, yeah. So on-site professionals are basically offshore coordinators. They just like take the requirement and they just pass it on to the India team. Is that what you're interested, or you really want to work on a code? You really want to work in a development project and all of these things. So yeah, that's how I got into sourcing, and working, coming up with new ideas in sourcing, coming up with new training models, and all of that. So that's where my passion really got kicked on by, of course, my mentors and my leads in Capgemini really pushed me. They gave me
Mhm.
that freedom, to go ahead and like just do what you want, and see where it takes you. And then yeah, few months back, I came back from SourceCon Budapest. So, being presenting at SourceCon Budapest was basically where it all, I don't know, it ended and a new beginning for me,
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
so
you
yeah.
did. You had a really good presentation of sourcing ethically, and like, tell me about some of the work that went into that presentation, and some of the tools that you were presenting there.
So SourceCon Budapest, I presented this topic called "Stalking the Right Way."
Hmm.
It had a lot of negativity around it, the word stalking. So a lot of people were like, "Oh, okay." So it was an intriguing thing which we came up with. So how I stumbled upon this topic was, back in 2015 or 16 actually. I got this opportunity to be a speaker at TASCON.
Hmm.
Right, and I was this guy who used to follow all these people and had that knowledge. So they're like, just come up with a topic and see what you can do. So I'm like, okay, what do I do? There's so many tools, there are so many techniques. How do I? So I went up to my boss, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to present a topic called 20 tips in 30 minutes. And he's like, okay, so you're going to present 20 tips in 30 minutes. And what are these tips? And, can you just write them down? So he gave me a pen and paper and he's like, write down all the techniques that you know. So I started writing down, GitHub search and X-ray search on LinkedIn and, alumni search and so on and so forth. I just like noted down like about 15, 20 topics. And he's like, okay, these topics are good, but are all of them good? Are you going to present something that's not good as well? Because I see like you're showing X-ray on LinkedIn, now you're showing X-ray on GitHub, and then you're going to show X-ray on whatever Facebook. So he's like, do you understand that you're just showing tips for the heck of it? Don't do that. So he's like, get me some real content. Get me so he was a cricket fan, and he's like, if you wanna play an over, in cricket. So do you wanna really hit like ones and twos and then so on and so forth? You wanna do that, or you wanna really go for like six sixes? And I'm like, that's a good idea. So he's like, yeah, get me like six sixes, and get me some real content. That's those topics are so good that you can talk for like 45 minutes about it. And I went back, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write, I'm gonna think about this. So I got my colleague Aniket on with me, and I'm like, hey dude, we're gonna be sitting an entire weekend at my house, and I'm gonna let's research about everything that's there on the internet, everything related to sourcing, all the blogs. Let's X-ray Chrome extension, like X-ray so I literally X-rayed the web store, the Chrome web store, to figure out all these tools. And then I just like and then I came across this entire new universe of Chrome extensions. And that's how Dean DaCosta, I found a lot of videos of Dean DaCosta, because everything you write Chrome extension on Google, and the third answer is Dean DaCosta. So Chrome extension Dean DaCosta, and I'm like, who's this guy? This guy really is like the king of Chrome extensions. So I started watching a lot of his videos, and I collected these tools, and that's how we came up with this process. So the process of basically finding a candidate's in presence on the internet, digging deeper into the presence. So like like you get his social presence, you get his Facebook profile, you get his LinkedIn profile, you get his Twitter profile, you get his GitHub profile, and everywhere else you get his blogs, you get his Stack Overflow account, everything. You just note that down, and then you got to dig deeper into these social media profiles. So we basically just separated this, and then the second one is basically you'd go dig deeper into Facebook, Twitter, GitHub, using some Chrome extensions. And then the last part was to basically find the contact information of that person, and this was basically, so I wanted to use tools on one candidate. I didn't want tools to basically find a list of candidates, but I wanted to use all the tools on one candidate. So that's how we came up with this process. And then I'm like, okay, what do we call it? So yeah, then we just sat about, we're like, okay, sourcing 101, sourcing 2.0. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. We are actually like getting so much information about that one person. So then, yeah, just Aniket comes up and he's like, what about stalking? And I'm like, yeah, stalking the right way. And they're like, oh yeah, let's talk about that, And yeah, so the Chrome extensions that I used were, to get the social presence was Connectifier, Amazing Hiring, and Discoverly, and people.com,
Mm-hmm.
pipl.com. That's one website which is really cool. And the other three are Chrome extensions. You just put in the name and you get the entire presence of that person on the internet. And then to dig deeper into the social media profiles, like Facebook. For Facebook, I would use Stockface.
Mm-hmm.
For Twitter, I would use follow.me, Twitonomy. For GitHub, I would use Talent Signals or OctoHR.
Mm-hmm.
That basically just gives me a lot of content on
Yeah.
GitHub, because GitHub is like, there are just repositories, and it's just so difficult to understand what repository is written in what language. So yeah, using OctoHR and Talent Signals, that just like eases it out to understand the GitHub profile. And then I would move on to the contact discovery of that person. So now, just say I'm stalking Mark. So I've got Mark's presence on all the social media sites. I know Mark on Facebook. I know Mark likes a lot of sourcing. He probably likes going to some probably restaurants. He likes traveling around. I know that he's going to SourceCon Atlanta. So these are just some pointers that I would note down about that person. I know Mark is quite active on Twitter, so I know what he tweets about. He tweets a lot about SourceCon. He tweets a lot about all these things. So from Twitter, I come to know what kind of what time he's active on. So Twitonomy and follow.me actually gives me some really good insights on
Mm-hmm.
when the person is active in the day.
Okay.
Because if the person is active on Twitter, he's going to be active during a certain time. He's not going to be active throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
So when he tweets the most, and Twitonomy gives me that kind of information as to what medium he uses. If he's using a mobile phone to tweet, if he's using his laptop to desktop to tweet, he's using probably Gaggle or some Hootsuite. I know what he's using, so I
Mm.
can reach out to him. If I know he's using the mobile phone a lot, if he's using the Twitter Android app, so I know I can text him. He's going to probably be responding, and I know what time he's active, so that's the time I'll probably text him. So
Mm.
some really good insights, what I would just gather minutely with my curiosity. I would just look at things minutely and just see what it is, and then I would just keep that information. And then the last part is basically going about getting his contact information, just using Lucia and Hierarchical, Nymeria. Nymeria is one of my favorites when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to email IDs. And the last one was this was something we found out of nowhere, when we were just researching, inteltechniques.com.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an OSINT website
Yeah.
by this guy called Michael Basil, who basically I found out, so I was a big fan of Mr. Robot, when it came out. And I realized that Michael Basil was the guy who was the chief technology officer for Mr. Robot. So the
He
entire
was,
brain.
yeah, he was the advisor on the whole to actually make it believable.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, I know. So I was just so intrigued. I'm like, wow, I'm going in the right direction. I'm stalking. The name of my topic is Stalking the Right Way. And then I realized that Intel Techniques is all by Michael Basil, and that's what they do in Mr. Robot. They just stalk people, to get them the right way, get them doing the right things. And yeah, that was the process I created. With that, I just got into a lot of these tools and techniques and a lot of innovative things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what Stalking the Right Way was about, and how we build it, just spending an entire weekend on researching whatever exists on sourcing. So yeah, it was an amazing time. I still keep learning new things.
Exactly.
So yeah, it was an amazing experience to get this whole topic prepared, and then I presented, like, in India, I think at 4 different locations.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got then I actually was thinking that, okay, I've presented this topic too many times in India. Why don't I just get this published by SourceCon? Let me just call up, let me just connect with someone at SourceCon, and I probably write a blog about stalking the right way, since the title of the topic is so intriguing. I think I thought it'll catch some attention on SourceCon, and the community that I follow so vigorously. So
Yeah.
that was my thing of getting into SourceCon. I'm like, how do I get into this community? How do I know that I exist, in India somewhere, sitting in Pune? So yeah, that's how I connected with Shannon once, and I I sent her a message on Twitter, I sent her a message on LinkedIn, no response. I was waiting for months. I was like, she's gonna respond now. No, Aniket, she's not responding, man. And then I just like, okay, drop all of that. Just got her email ID from LinkedIn. I'm like, let me stalk her. Let me get her email ID, and then an email. Hey, I have this really good topic, and I send her an overview about my topic, and she's like, I'm like, if you want to connect over a call, let's do that. And then she's like, yeah, let's catch up. And she responded within like minutes, And I'm like, wow, see, you got to know who to send when. And, that's when Titonomy really helped me. And I'm like, she's someone who really looks at her emails. So, I just emailed her and then she's like, yeah, let's catch up over a call. And I'm like, okay, so we were over a call on Hangout and we were like, I told her the entire process of how I got, Stalking the Right Way prepared. And then I gave her all the Chrome extensions that I use, to stalk one person. And at the end of it, she's like, so, instead of the blog, is this a presentation or is it a demo? I'm like, it's a live demo. It's not a presentation. So I'm like, so she's like, yeah, why don't you come down to Budapest and present this at SourceCon Budapest? And I was like, oh my God. I got my calling, I got my calling from the people, so I'm like, yeah, you're going to SourceCon. And yeah, that's how the topic really took up, to the next level. And it was just amazing to share that information, all that information that hard work and all that knowledge, and just cutting out the noise from it and just giving the cream to the crowd. It was a good experience.
From what I heard from people as well, like they were very impressed at just the amount of research that's gone into it, and just you running through it and sitting there and just everybody coming up to you, like showing what you had and running through that with them.
Yeah, those pamphlets, the cheat sheet really, did the job for me actually. I just, so that was also another thing, just 20 days before SourceCon, I'm like, I'm like ready with the demo, I know everything I have to do, but I'm like, how do I make people know that, Akberali Engineer was there? How are people going to know that Stalking the Right Way was there? And I'm like, wait a second, let me get a cheat sheet. Let me get this pamphlet prepared. And that's how, my wife works with the marketing team, and she's someone who's really creative. So she created that entire thing for me. I just told her these are the topics, how do we get this, printed and get a nice creative around it. And then like, yeah, she really helped me and it came out so well. And I just carry like pamphlets, I'm like, I'm just going to pass it on to people as I walk. I'm like, hey, take this Stalking the Right Way, it's Stalking the Right Way. So it just really got good attention, especially the cheat sheet.
What are some of the things that you're working on now and, that's exciting for you?
So for me, something that I'm working on right now is sourcing in India. So this is just a topic that I've taken, like sourcing in India. It's a really vast topic. But what I feel is that, a lot of people know sourcing as it works in India. So in India, it works quite differently, but it's not that different from the world. It's very similar. It's just that in India, we have a huge market. We have a lot of people, and we have a lot of talent. It's just that to choose that talent is kind of difficult. So for me, I'm actually doing some research out here with Aniket and trying to get some information on what kind of what are the exact things that you got to know about sourcing that would work in India as well. So all the blogs. So what happens is you share a SourceCon blog with someone, and the person would be like, oh, I don't know if this works in India. That's the thing. That's the first thing that comes in your mind is, does this work in India? Does this tool work in India? Does this software work in India? So for me, I'm looking to, I don't know, I'm gonna publish something or something of that sort. Just come up with a lot of content, collect a lot of data, and see what works in India. So yeah, what works in India is the kind of a topic that I'm currently working on, and I'm doing a lot of research around it to build some data. I'm going to talk to a lot of people. I'm going to connect with a lot of people and see if I can help the sourcing community in India. So that is something that I would like to give back from what I've gained from SourceCon and all the blogs. So yeah, looking to gather a lot of content, looking to research a lot, and then pass it on as a live example that this I have tried, I have tested, it works in India. So, probably publish a blog or anything of that sort. So something of that sort I'm just like thinking of doing. So some research work going on at the side, and it's quite exciting for me to probably come up with something then.
I think also the other way around. I think a lot of the time is, I've seen this for myself, European sourcers or American sourcers, and getting, their company has operations in India as well. And we get those requests. It's like, can you find these people in India? What are some of the things that we need to think about it, how to do things differently when kind of sitting in the US or in Europe and trying to source people locally in India for our offices there?
So when you go out to India, you gotta understand that out here people really you ask. So we have passive candidates. They say they're not interested, but they are interested. So basically, you don't have a passive pool in India. You have everyone act. Most of the candidates you'll find are active. It's just that you got to invest time. So when you talk to a candidate, in India we have, so if I put a Java developer in India on a job board, the results that I would get if I just put the two keywords of Java developer, it would be in lakhs.
Yeah.
Lakhs and hundreds and thousands of people. So it's just that, yeah. And if you're going to send out an email to say 2,000 of them, you are going to get a response of like 500 of them. So the market is really huge, and what I feel that European sources and North America sources should actually look at is the candidates, and you got to invest time when you talk to the candidates. So what I do is I don't really target any company. I would probably target an organization.
Mm-hmm.
So I work for ZS, right now, and these guys are into analytics. So what you have to do is now, if you're working for a company that's into management consulting, a lot into analytics, you wouldn't go to a service industry and look for people, right? You would want to basically target other analytic organizations and look for people similar, because in India our community, our culture is something that we basically look for people similar to us, someone who can fit in right with us, because there are so many people. So you want the few people that actually fit in. So the process becomes kind of stringent. You don't really have to conduct 15-20 interviews to get one offer, or you don't have to conduct like a drive of 100 people, like you said earlier, that you were conducting drives and all of that. So you don't have to do that. You just got to find the right people. But for that, you got to target organizations, and once you target those organizations and you write a really nice email about what your company is into, what project you're going to be working on, what is your growth path, and be open about salary. It's quite open out here. So the only thing in India is like, if the notice period is 90 days, which usually people have 90 days notice period, that those candidates are kind of fishy. They have 90 days to look out for a job, and it's kind of difficult.
And I've seen that. I've hired people who were in their notice period and they had already accepted another job, and I've had people jump off after they accepted because they got another job in their notice period, even though that it's like better money, better conditions somewhere else.
Exactly. So that's one thing you got to just look at. But yeah, if you don't do that, then you got to really spend time in talking to the candidates in India, explaining them what the project is about, explaining them what the growth path is, explaining them what your organization is, explaining them how they are. So you got to understand first. So my first question to a candidate is not, are you looking for a job opportunity? My question to the candidate is going to be, hey, so I see that you're currently working in XYZ organization. I see that you're currently working as a, an analytics consultant. What are you currently working on? And what are you currently looking forward to in your life? Or, what are your aspirations? I would really like to know. And it's just an open-ended question. So there the candidate starts telling me, oh yeah, I'm currently working on this project. I'm working on this technologies. And then I would just have a conversation with the candidate and just understand what he is doing, where he's coming from, what is he currently looking forward to. And in that process, you really come to know if this guy's interested or not interested. If he's not interested, a lot of information about him before. You've already asked him an open-ended question, so he's really given you a lot of information. So you got to just understand that. You got to give him that right guidance, and you got to convince him. Convincing is something that is really required. You got to explain him how your organization, how your project, how your technologies that you're using, what kind of new age technologies you're using, what are the cutting edge technologies that you're working on, and how it's going to help him if he's a Java developer.
Hmm.
That you can tell him, I'm looking for a full stack guy out here. We are moving all our systems from Java mainframe to JavaScript and cloud and microservices. So this is an opportunity for you. You're just working on Java out there, and probably on one of the projects that to just one part of the project.
Yeah.
Out here I'm giving you an entire universe to work on, like JavaScript, microservices, cloud, DevOps, everything. So this is the kind of a system I have, and this is what I'm looking for, a person to come in and actually join in and help our project do well. So when a recruiter in India talks like that to a candidate, the candidate gets impressed.
Mm.
And I have got it like almost, out of 10 I would get like one or two candidates who are just like wowed with the kind of information I would give to them. Like, are you a recruiter? Like, how do you know about so many things? How do you know microservices? How do you know these containers in the microservices? How do you know all these things? And like, because I do my research and I talk to a lot of people, and then I just keep talking to the person, and I don't just like, I'm like, okay, now he's talking, I'm blah blah blah, he's just going on.
Exactly.
No, I would actually like,
Yeah.
look, okay, and I would get that information. I would take in all the information from them, and just then I'm a guy who has spoken to like 15, 20 people, for a long time. So just, yeah, that's what you got to do in India. When you're talking, you got to really give them the truth. You got to be honest with them that this is what it is. This is the salary. So they're quite open about salary.
Yeah.
This is the salary that we can offer.
It's
You-
pain when you have to give the offer because it's made up by 20 different things and
Yeah,
variables.
the components are
I'm
huge.
glad we had HR in India to deal with that, because I was like, this is the package. Don't ask me how it's made up.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult, but yeah, you gotta take that effort and actually
Yeah.
make that candidate understand. If not, if you can understand, and I think you need to give that person, a recruiter in India,
Yeah.
just or the HR person in India, just ask the HR person to really really grill that person, because there's a lot of taxation. That's something that you would need to pay close attention to. And once you're open about it, and I think if the candidate is okay, if they are okay about it, they don't really, they would actually reject a lot of offers, because they've spoken to a recruiter. If the recruiter is so good in the organization, they'll be like, wow, I think the technical folks definitely should be better. So yeah, that's the kind of impression you got to give, and that's how you got to talk. So in India, it's like you got to really talk to a lot of people.
Mm.
You're on the phone all the time. Like, I'm on the phone just walking around my office, because then people are like, why don't you just attach a band around your head with the phone stuck here? And I'm like, it's just, and I give my mobile numbers to candidates,
Yeah.
because that's like the first thing you gotta do. You gotta be available as a recruiter or as a candidate in India. The candidate really feels so good. I
Mm.
just got a call from my candidate today. Hey, the recruiter called me and the recruiter gave me this offer. I'm not okay with it. Can I talk to you?
Mm.
And I was the guy who sourced him, and
Yeah.
I'm not in the offer process, but he just called me and he's like, I got this offer. I'm not okay about it. Can I talk to you about it?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. And he wrote me a nice email about it, that Akbar, the process was really nice. Thank you for, the experience that you gave me. It was flawless, but I'm not okay with the offer.
Mm.
And then I just gave him a lowdown, and that you got to invest that time in that candidate, where the candidate feels comfortable and can actually share his problem. So he's like, look, this is the offer I'm looking at, and this is the offer that they've given me. And then I just kind of you know re- give him an idea that, okay, what you're looking for and what we've offered, there's not much of a difference.
Mm.
It's just like barely anything. If you just minus that, your expectations, because this is your expectation and that is ideal, and we
Mm.
don't live in an ideal world. We live in a real world. So yeah, if you were in an ideal world, you probably would have got a lot more than you're expecting. But we live in a real world, and you got to understand what we can give.
Mm.
If you're able to just give that. And the candidate was like, hey man, it was really great talking to you. I really got another perspective, because I'm like, look at the opportunity as a whole.
Yeah.
Don't just construct an opportunity because of money, that, oh, this is the offer I'm getting, this is what I want. No, look at the opportunity as a whole. This is the money I'm getting, this is the role I'm getting, this is the project I'm working on, this is my growth in the organization, and this
Yeah.
is what I learned. You look at it as a whole, and you got to give that perspective to a candidate in India. You got to explain them this entire overview, like, this is what you're going to be contributing, this is what you're
I
coming
think
from.
I think that's applicable anywhere in the world. It's like if you have that
Yeah.
kind of, you have a good story and you know the details and you can give them that details. I mean, that's the way that you should treat candidates anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, in India, it's just that, as I told you, it's just like a lot of people. You can do this with like a few of them. You have to be like on the phone. You gotta be
Mhm.
talking to them for 45 minutes, half an hour. One candidate, and then you gotta do that to like 15, 20 of them
Yeah,
in the day, and then you are like, oh, I am closing positions,
yeah,
and a lot of your positions are gonna get closed because of that confidence.
mm,
Most of the candidates are just so confident because you give them so much information
yeah.
about your organization, about your culture, about your values, and then the project, and then the technologies, and the candidate is just overwhelmed. By the end of it, he's like, "Wow, this is the company I want to go and work." So yeah, it's actually like across the globe, but yeah, in India, it's just like a lot of
It's
volume.
table stakes in India. You have to do it in India, whereas in the rest of the world, like it would be brilliant if people did, but they get away.
Yeah.
If people want to keep in touch with you and see what you're working on, how can they best do that?
So they can get in touch with me on LinkedIn. I'm most active on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. I would probably need an invitation. So if I see sourcer, recruiter, or talent acquisition mentioned, I would probably accept. But if not, I wouldn't, because I don't know that person. But yeah, Facebook and Twitter, LinkedIn and Twitter are the two places that I'm really, really active with. I accept invitations, and I'm open to chat up with and connect with.
Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you soon again.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you again.